Motivation sucks, at least the kind that comes in a burst and then disappears after a few days. But science has discovered a much deeper, more lasting type of motivation that infuses every single day of your life with aliveness. After feeling dead for 20 years, where everything felt like a chore, this made me insanely motivated. So, today I want to share this motivation triad and how you can start applying it immediately. But to actually apply it, you must first understand why nothing motivates you anymore. Most men think they've lost interest in everything because of a brain devoid of dopamine caused by doom scrolling or overstimulation. On YouTube, there are literally dozens and dozens of videos blaming the damn phone for this. But they've actually got it completely wrong. And understanding this is the key to accessing the limitless motivation we're going to talk about. So let me explain. Let's say you have a car that runs on petrol. One night you want to refuel, but you're groggy and sleepy. So you unknowingly park at the diesel end of the pump. The guy also negligently ends up filling petrol in the tank. What do you think will happen? If you understand cars even a little, you know the petrol engine will get completely fucked with the wrong fuel source, diesel. The same is the case with human mind, body, and spirit. With the right fuel source or motivation, you have endless energy to do even the hard things. But with the wrong fuel source, just getting out of bed feels like a big task. So, what's the right fuel for you? One of my mentors is Tony Robbins. He's built a $12 billion empire from nothing, coached US presidents, helped hundreds of millions of people across the world. Doing all this, he noticed something simple but profound. People across the globe really have two types of fuel sources. The first one is what he calls push motivation, which is using willpower and effort to do things. This also includes motivation that comes from outside, like money, praise, or fame. The second is pull motivation that every successful person you know has tapped into knowingly or unknowingly. It's the reasons that matter to you. And because they matter to you and not someone else, they effortlessly pull you towards your outcomes. I get to what those are and how you can access those in a minute. But don't get me wrong, there is a place for push motivation. It is the over relying on it that burns you down like the engine of a petrol car running on diesel. Because pull and not push is your primary fuel source. When you excessively rely on push, over time it makes you feel shit inside, and then you use consumption as a way to feel better, which of course makes things worse because of dopamine crash. So if you feel unmotivated and dead inside, don't blame the dopamine, blame the shit fuel source. But why do we men rely so much on push motivation? It's because we don't know how to access the power of pull. I personally struggled with this for 2 decades of my life. Modern men are taught from a very young age to disown and suppress their feelings, to push them down, which causes a disconnect within. And that's very unfortunate because this disconnect is what makes it really difficult to find what actually motivates you, pulls you from within. For me, it took me 6 years of searching the right resources, books, courses, certifications, scientific research, combined with hours of meditation, introspection, and applying what I learned. So, let me condense the most useful stuff to save you all the effort. Here's the first step of the triad, which is the fastest way to access pull motivation. I'll share a revolutionary story to give you all the context you need. Back in 1998, Martin Seligman, a very famous and successful psychologist, became the president of American Psychological Association. However, he had a problem with the entire field of psychology. He argued that psychology had spent an entire century obsessed with what's wrong with people, disorders, dysfunction, diseases. And nobody was seriously studying what actually makes people flourish, makes people happy and alive. So he decided to find out. He put together a team of 40 scientists to find the answer to one simple question. What is it that makes man happy across every human culture throughout the history? Be it a person living in a city like Mumbai or a tribal in Amazon jungle. You might be wondering, what does this have to do with motivation? But bear with me for a second because trust me, it does. For 3 years, they basically went through everything that they could get their hands on: ancient Greek philosophy, the code of the samurai, the texts from every major world religion, the Bible, Bhagavad Gita, Quran. They also looked at modern stuff like why are certain movie heroes so likable? And they noticed a very interesting pattern. They discovered six core virtues showed up everywhere, and under those were 24 character strengths. They're super fascinating, so let me share those with you. The first core value is wisdom, which includes strengths of creativity, curiosity, judgment, love of learning, and perspective. The second one is courage, which includes bravery, perseverance, honesty, and enthusiasm or zest. The third one is humanity, including strengths of love, kindness, and social intelligence. Next, transcendence with some lovely strengths, appreciation of beauty, gratitude, hope, humor, and spirituality. Fifth, justice, which includes teamwork, fairness, and leadership. And final one was moderation, with strengths of forgiveness, modesty, prudence, and self control. Now, here's where things get even more interesting. The researchers also discovered that every human has three signature strengths that, when properly integrated, didn't just make them objectively happier, but also made any task feel effortless and energizing. When it comes to aliveness and motivation, signature strengths are superpowers. And I can personally attest to this. One of my core strengths is love of learning, which also includes helping others learn. As a beautiful coincidence, when I was writing the script of this very video in a way that's easy to understand and apply for you, hours felt like seconds, and I was filled with energy by the end of it. So, how do you concretely use all of this to feel alive and motivated again? Step one is to find out your core three strengths. The human spirit is capable of accessing all of these strengths, but every person will have at least three that are primary for him or her. The way you find them is by using the 3E test. The first E is, does this strength feel essential to who you are? That is, if the quality were taken away from you, you wouldn't feel like yourself. Second E is, doing it feels so effortless and natural that you don't have to force yourself to do it. And finally, energized. Instead of draining your battery, exercising this strength actively recharges your psychological energy and leaves you feeling alive. My top three are curiosity, love of learning, and self regulation. If you can't figure out your core strengths, that's okay. You might have to experiment with this a little bit. But for now, without overthinking, pick the three that sound the most fun for you and carry on to step two. Figure out a way to incorporate these strengths in your life as much as possible, especially with the tasks that you are unmotivated towards, and see your aliveness, your motivation skyrocket. I'll give you an example. If your primary strengths are creativity, teamwork, and let's say prudence, replacing 60 minutes of screen time daily with creative habits like music, coding, writing, or painting would be a beautiful way to fuel that creative joy. For teamwork, you can find ways to be a part of team projects, whether they be in office or with friends. And having time to plan things out every day or even weekly would exercise that prudence strength. Hell, it's not one of my core strengths, and I still love my weekly planning. But what about a habit or a goal? Let's say you want to get motivated for working out. You can do that in multiple ways. A, you can find creative new ways to work out, making it fun. B, you can join a group of men committed towards the same goal as you, be it muscle building, flexibility, or whatever. And for prudence, you can plan every workout meticulously in detail for the best possible results. By the way, if you want to become a man who wakes up alive and excited every day because he's in touch with his inner motivation, click the link below, and every week I'll send value packed tips and frameworks that are proven to work. Hey guys, I thought of adding this for you after recording. If you'd like a Google Doc full of examples to understand core strengths along with a simple follow through exercise to help you find them, click the link below and I'll send it to you for free. The next step is literally the most powerful motivation known to mankind. Picture this. There's a guy with a loaded gun in front of you and he's about to shoot. There's nothing you can do but run. Now, the more likely he is to pull the trigger, the faster you'll run, right? Picture another scenario. There's this same guy with the gun, you, and someone you love more than anything in the world. It can be your child, your pet, a lover, a friend, a parent. And he's pointing the gun towards them. In this scenario, I'm guessing, and feel free to challenge me in the comments, the more likely he is to pull the trigger, the more likely you are to jump in front of the gun, right? So what changed? The gun is the same, your ability to run is the same, but somehow you had unbelievable motivation to jump, to overcome your fear of death and jump in front of the gun. Why? It's because you as a man will always do more for others than for yourself. Purpose is the strongest motivator according to psychologist as Abraham Maslow, who came up with the hierarchy of human needs, which is defined as your desire to contribute to something or someone beyond yourself. It can be a person, your country, your religion, your community, an outcome for the world, or even an ideology. Anything the well-being of which matters more to you than yourself. Purpose is power. And if you can access this fuel source in your day-to-day life, you'll have near infinite motivation. So how do you do that specifically? Here's a journaling exercise that will help you access the unbelievable power of purpose. Pick a habit, activity, goal, pursuit that you'd like to be motivated for. Pick something, someone whose well-being you genuinely matter more than your own. The question I love is who or what is something you'd be willing to die in a heartbeat? Write down as many authentic answers to these two questions as possible. How does me not following through negatively impacts that outcome or person? How will I be able to contribute to their well-being if I succeed with this? The answer could be as simple as if I don't give my all in my business, I'll not be able to support my parents when they get old or sick. So long as your answers are true to you, you can't really bullshit yourself here. Stick this sheet somewhere you can see daily, maybe on your mirror. And the next time you don't feel like taking action towards this goal or are going through a rough patch, read your answers. The sweet spot for me is engaging in my personal strengths on a daily basis, along with having a vision that I care for more than myself. That way, it's like a good balance between internal pull and external pull. More examples of purpose are also in the doc below. But none of this actually works if you miss the final part of the triad. You can know all your strengths, have something you care for more than yourself, and still be unmotivated. This is the trap I personally fell in and see many of my clients do as well. And you can avoid it by using this one mindset. So oftentimes I might not feel motivated to read a book despite the fact that the book is on my favorite topic, that is emotions. And learning is literally my top strength. Maybe because I'm tired or whatever. In those moments, I like to remind myself that motivation is like a hand pump. I first have to pump for the water to start flowing. Initially, I might pump once or twice and there's no water. But that doesn't mean the water isn't coming up. It only means that if I persevere a little longer, the water will start flowing effortlessly. But if I stop after a couple of pumps, I'll never get to experience the effortless flow of water. And that's why instead of waiting for motivation and thinking I'll read when I feel like it, if I just start taking action, pumping, pumpy, if I just start pumping, in some time the inner and outer pull kicks in and then everything flows effortlessly. Because motion causes motivation and not the other way around. If you embody this hand pump approach and combine this with inner and outer pull, you will attain this sense of mastery over your motivation, accessing it at will whenever you want. And you'll never have to worry about feeling dead inside ever again. So to summarize, wrong fuel source, that is push motivation, is what causes you to feel dead inside. You can beat that by finding your inner pull motivation from the 24 character strengths and incorporating it throughout your life as much as possible, especially in the tasks that you feel unmotivated for. Tap into your outer pull by finding something or someone whose well-being matters more to you than yourself. Remind this to yourself in your hardest times. See motivation like a hand pump. You must first take some action for the water motivation to flow, but after the initial effort, it becomes effortless. Don't forget to click the link below for more such concrete steps and frameworks, specially designed for men to become alive and motivated again. Thanks for watching.